Alright, we're here for match 1. It's been a lot going on in life, but let's not dwell on that. So, 2 lands, Swizzle Spear into some stuff seems like a reasonable enough hand. Ideally, we'd go Swiss Spear into Searing Blaze. Excuse me. Apologies, I will try to record as long as my voice holds out. I unfortunately took a visit to the local medical facility for several days. So hopefully we're on the mend. Our opponents. Yusuke Muse. So for now, I'm going to attack with Swiss Spear. This could be Boros, this could be Storm, could be Zoo. I think in the interests of not dying to Storm, I'm going to play Eidolon. Could be Eldrazi, I guess. Another possibility. Slow opening for Eldrazi. Nope. Teamer Breach. Well, most likely Teamer Breach. Nope. Alright. Good old Jund. So, lead on Bolt. For instance, where the 1/2 Tarmogoyf actually dies to a lightning bolt. Unless my opponent has some type of free spell that I'm not acutely aware of here. So we're going to go ahead and attack, put them to 11, and then post-combat, even though we're not getting the prowess trigger, just because our spells kind of awkwardly line up, we're going to go ahead and skewer them post-combat to put them to 8. Okay. Got a lot of random... Taking damage from the Eidolon. Guess the only nice thing for Jund is we don't really have a ton of Jund-centric cards in our sideboard anymore, because the meta is so kind of all over the place. Rest in Peace is kind of a trap against Jund a little bit. Sure, it can make a Tarmogoyf useless. Sure, it can make a Renin 6 a little bit worse. Like, honestly, Stony Silence does nothing. Magebane Lizard kind of mid. Searing Blood doesn't really kill a lot of other things that we know of. Molten Rain is a bit expensive for the matchup. Could potentially bring it in to help against Urza's Saga specifically. Firecraft is kind of fine. Eidolon is very mid on the draw. Most of the rest of our spells are rather, Searing Blood or Searing Blaze could also be very mid. But the reality is, I mean, what cards do we have? We'd have these, potentially these, potentially these. Rest of the cards just don't make sense. It just depends on like what axis you would want to fight Urza Saga on, if you even care about that. And obviously, they might have equipment like Shadow Spear, but I don't like bringing in too many of those against Jund. So I might literally just bring in like go down 2 Eidolons and a Searing Blaze and bring in the 3 Molten Rains. I don't think this is the right sideboarding at all, but with a deck that's kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, kind of all over the place, trying to defend against so many different combo decks, playing against another fair deck that Burn historically has a fairly reasonable matchup against. You know, it might have even been correct to just like not sideboard at all. So I think we mulligan the 1 lander on the draw. You know, even if you were tempted to keep it, you'd only have 2 spells you can for sure play. This hand is not a lot better, I'm not going to lie, but we are going to keep the multiple 1-drop hand on the draw already on a multi-6. So chose to get rid of the 3-drop over keeping the white spell, because I think it's more likely to find a white source than we are to find our 3rd land in a timely fashion. So get in with the Eidolon or Goblin Guide here, because this might be the only turn we get a chance to get in with a Goblin Guide of any like relevant thing. Like say they untap and play a Tarmotoif. Oh, all right. Well, Jund player doesn't look like they have a lot for the matchup either if they're bringing in Damping Sphere. Opponent's got some lands. So Tarmogoyf is probably going to be out of range of us killing it anyway. So opponent chooses to not play Tarmogoyf. That is a very interesting decision. They've got a golden monkey. All right. So what is more likely to matter here? Keeping the Goblin Guide alive or dealing them 4 damage? So this would put them to 12. Boros Charm would put them to 8. Not great, but I think we just let it die. And then kind of hope we draw an untapped land here soon. Opponent could have led on Dashing Monkey into casting Tarmogoyf, but I guess they didn't want to risk tacking into that much open mana. Yeah, we're just going to hold back Goblin Guide here. No profitable attacks, no profitable trades. Sure. gonna hold up Skull Crack in case they hit the one of Lightning Helix. They hit Arid Mesa, which certainly would have been nice to hit, but so a lot of draws off our deck kill us if they hit us with Ragavan. They can't crack that fetch land without dying, so I think we just... Is there a difference between 8 and 9 in this matchup? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, I don't think so. So we're just gonna have to rely that, you know, the Ragavan hits nothing here. Because unfortunately, as ridiculous as the Damping Sphere is, it has kept them from just dying. So mainly because we've been stuck on 2 lands, but sure. They hit a land, so we live, unless they have a bolt of their own. Okay, good games. All right, starting on game 2, we kind of see the opposite side of the burn mulligan equation. 4 lands just can't keep. This hand's fine. We have a 1-drop spell for any scenario here into Eidolon, so. It's gonna fetch a basic mountain here. Play Goblin Guide. Once again, Wooded Foothills. Too many different decks it can be right now. Okay, so Hollow One or Jund. Looks like Hollow One. Fetch the basic mountain here to preserve our life total a little bit. Yeah. We are, in fact, up against Hollow One. Sure. So hopefully our opponent doesn't find a Street Rift to make this a 4/4. And we can just play land. Searing Blaze, gun this down before it gets out of hand. So they choose to preserve their life total. Instead of getting that out of bolt range, so. Yeah, sure. Another land would not be terrible here. We're going to go ahead and deal with this Emperor of Bones. I don't like really splitting our focus here, but I do like keeping them off of pressure on the board. I think a slightly longer game might favor us. But that is 3 points of damage. We'll have to watch to see. I would have loved to have drawn a land to be able to blaze that Emperor of Bones. So, if you have a Marauding Shark as your 1/1 drop, does that make it a baby shark until it grows up? But baby shark that mixes with skeletons and wraiths and partridges in a pear tree, I guess. Alright, well, we're drawing a few too many Searing Blaze effects for how many lands we have in our opening hand. Bowboy, sure. Guess that makes sense for them to have in their hand. Okay. This could be really good or really bad. Shuffle up and deal. Oh yeah, it gets really bad because of Bowmasters. Kind of depends on what's left in their hand. So we're taking 5. I think the elephant next turn will be lethal. Four, 5, 6, 7. I think our best play is play Swift Spear, dome them to the face. Hope we somehow live through this, although I don't think we're going to. Because I think exiling Oliphant is going to be enough for them to win this game. And once again, this comes down to if I would have bolted their face instead of killing the first Emperor of Bones, would we have won this race? Maybe. Because Elephant gives something else haste, so a haste trample. So there was no blocking our way out of that. 2 Rest in Pieces, probably okay. 2 Searing Bloods, probably okay. You could, like, in theory, bring in Wear Tears, but only hitting Hollow One seems a little risky. Even as many. Some people argued in, like, comments and stuff that, you know, they see enough of their deck that it's worth bringing it in, but I think that's more the case for Smash than that. So apparently it's just going to continue hovering. So what cards make the least sense here? Doesn't feel like we're going to be in much of a life gain situation, or them gaining life situation. And shaving Eidolon might not be a terrible idea here. Because they are a deck very simply that can get on the board very easily. Alright, well, let's try. Alright. Now we can see. Ah, guest. See our guest. Put our service to the test. Those of you who didn't grow up with 90s Disney stuff, I apologize. Eidolon Goblin guy, it's a bit more damage. Opponent gets to go bony on us next couple turns from now anyway. Alright, so we have two lines of play here. We can attack with Goblin Guide, see what they do with this Foothills, or we can go Swift Spear, bolt something. I'm going to go Eidolon to force the action. That way they don't get an extra card off of this Goblin Guide. This puts the onus on your opponent to make the decision if they have a bolt or a fatal push or something else and they want to kill this. They don't get the extra card. I should say potential extra card. And the way they're tanking so hard makes me think that they have at least possibly just one removal spell in hand, and they're debating how they wish to deploy it. So I'm only going to play Swift Spear here. I am going to attack with both Eidolon and Swizzle-Dee Deer here, because I do think we have a either another removal spell in our future, or our opponent is going to try to leverage Bowmasters. I wasn't sure which. So do this, avoid taking 2 extra points of damage from the bolt or playing a bolt wave main phase. We still have the flexibility of bolt wave, skewer the critics if we feel we need to kill something. Our opponent's got a Bone Boy in hand. Fortunately, there's not much in the graveyard for them to steal. Unless we get combo knotted here. They have the Burning Inquiry nonsense again. Of course they do. So all we do here is pass. Sure. I honestly probably would have gone with another Bowboy there and increase the pressure. But I guess either which way it's going to come down to the next turn cycle anyway, so we need to draw a land to kill them here. I guess we pass, see if they crack the land, and it's really kind of our only way to try to win. Sure. And even if we Searing Blaze the Orcish Bowmasters, we just die to the extra point of damage from our thing. Plus, they still have the ability to adapt. So, alright, so matchup 3. This hand is interesting. The downside with this hand is it deals us a lot of damage with Barbarian Ring and has no interaction for creatures. That said, it is a pretty decent burn hand with a 1-drop creature into a couple burn spells. So you can't really mulligan this in the blind. But it's certainly a hand whose value is largely dependent on this Goblin Guide. And it looks like we're facing against possibly energy here. So Mm-hmm. Would love to drop bolts here. We're playing the rare defensive Monastery Swiftspear. So this will force our opponent to have a removal spell to do anything with this Ocelot Pride. And then yeah, we're not beating this hand. It's like I guess we play this in the past and hold up Skullcrack. I just don't see a way of beating this much early life gain. Especially without a searing, like a, as I said in the early turns, the severe lack of early removal spells was going to be a point of consideration for that opening hand. Well, it still does gain the energy. So if they're smart, they'll probably grow the Goddess Souls itself. Yep. Plus, we're already under significant pressure, so. Like, yeah, we're just not coming back from this Scoob. Alright, so I don't think there's much in the sideboard for this matchup either, so. We got 2 Searing Bloods. Could bring in Wear Tears potentially. Stony Silence doesn't do anything. Mage Bane Lizard, Molten Rain, Firecraft. Eidolon's a mid card. Rest in Peace feels a little too niche even against Flage. I think it's literally just bring these in and hope we have a little bit more of an aggressive start with some backed up with some of our searing effects. This hand's just too clunky for the matchup, so this hand's a lot better. Probably unironically put back Bolt Wave here. Lean on Eidolon to start, or not Eidolon, Sacred Foundry to start the party. That is unfortunate. I think we're fine with that trade overall, so I pass. Okay. We pass again, holding up Searing Blood / Skullcrack. Take the 3. Please tell me you're not trying to Orim's Chant right now. Nope, they're choosing to kill their own cat. Flip it. Really feels like an awful use of resources, but kept the card on top. That's terrifying. I feel like we're getting chanted this turn. Sure. I feel like you should have done that during my upkeep if that was your plan. Spyro is annoying. Don't really think there's a payoff to bolting them this turn. Hi-ho! Kermit the Monster here. See what they do with blocks. Okay. I didn't want the Galv discharge. Interesting. Guess that takes care of the Swift Spear with Seasoned Pyro. Yeah, they already had a discharge. Okay. Burn spell for the win. Scan, don't really like those, don't really like Firecraft. Not really the matchup for Molten Rain. Rest in Peace is kind of a band-aid. So, other than the 2 Blaze, I don't really think there's a whole lot in our sideboard for this matchup. Sounds fine, or pretty decent if they don't have too creature intensive of a start. Yep. Them keeping 7 on the play almost certainly means we're doomed. So this 1-2 combo is just so hard to fight through. Like, I think, you know, even though it's been a couple months back, I think Spike had the best, like, game plan against them is literally just, you know, 4 Blaze, 4 Searing Blood, 4 Skull Crack, be on the evasive plan with Slick Shot Show Off, and just kind of try to control them / cheese them. Now, if they go God mode and go turn 3 Flage, we definitely have no prayer. Kill the Goddess Souls here. Downside of Blood Over Blaze. We're just attacking with the 2 Swift Spears here. Good chance our opponent just takes the damage. Whereas if we attack with Goblin Guy, it's basically a free. yeah, you just can't beat these draws. They're like life gain creature this, life gain creature that, life gain creature this. So, especially when their last card displays with a full graveyard. So, we'll give it one draw step, but I don't see any particular outs. So, yeah, that's game. All right, so we're back with a quick wrap with what's going on so far in this league. So, one of the dangers of the current meta, especially with presence of Breach, Storm, Eldrazi, is your deck kind of gets spread a little bit too thin. Now, this particular list was by Bad Luck Bandit, and they 5-0'd recently. So, not saying this approach isn't correct in certain leagues, certain metas. The main deck is not like terribly different than Stockburn has been for a while. Not sure I'm a huge fan of the One Elegant Parlor sometimes. Double Barbarian Ring, it really puts a bit of strain on your mana base. And as far as the main deck, like Eidolon, not Eidolon. I think Eidolon's only really particularly good against Storm, potentially Breach. And that certainly is a reason to leave it in the deck, but I think this might be a card that needs to be either left at home or left in the sideboard. Main deck, I really did like in one of the last versions we worked on, the version that had like 4 Searing, 4 Seal of Fire, etc. Or maybe even going to the Incinerators version. I'm just not a huge, like Stockburn is fine, but as you can see, without those extra early things and then having the four Bloods in the sideboard, you really are at the mercy of things like Boros Energy, even decks like Hollow One that we played against. The sideboard is obviously very intensively sideboarded against Breach, which that's likely not going to be a problem here in the next couple weeks. Molten Rain, fine card against Eldrazi. I don't have enough experience against the Eldrazi decks to know if burn is fast enough or if they actually need the sideboard help. Exquisite Firecraft, once again, fine card. We haven't played against any blue decks. And then Searing Blood. Really here against the small creature decks. And even, we saw some of the downsides where our opponent was willing to kind of 2-for-1 themselves to avoid taking the damage from Searing Blood. And props to them for those kind of heads-up plays. Overall, really hard to take a lot away from this league. Other than, as I mentioned about sequencing, draw, as far as mulligans and such, hopefully you can learn a little bit from that. But otherwise, not really a whole lot of takeaways from this league. I haven't played Magic, honestly, in about 2 weeks between work and a trip to the local medical facility. Yeah. We beat Jund. Hollow One has felt like a close-ish matchup, and I didn't feel like we had the best draws. Our opponents cycled and played their stuff really well. In Boros Energy, we stole the middle game, lost the other two. I still think that's going to be a poor matchup moving forward. And like I said, approaching it with Spike's thing of like 4 Searing Blood, 4 Searing Blaze, 4 Skull Crack is probably the best way to approach that matchup. And even then, I don't think the matchup is particularly good. So, as always, if you do like Modern Burn content, don't forget to comment, subscribe. Hope to see you for our next video.